Good morning. Thanks to all of you for coming out. I look around the room and see many of you who have been involved in trying to make our city a better place for a long time. So I appreciate your commitment to our city, and thank you for inviting me to come and be with you this morning. If you think back with me to 2009, at about this time we were leading up to the primary election to elect the mayor of Seattle. And out of that primary came two individuals who had never been elected to any office and who had zero government experience. And that also began the era of conflict in Seattle. Immediately after taking office, Mike McGinn broke his promise to the city, to you, to me, and all of our city residents. And regardless of your view on State Route 99 or the Deep Bore Tunnel, we then spent 2 years in conflict over that issue. That conflict continues today with our police department, Department of Justice matter. We cannot afford that kind of conflict in city government continuing for the next 4 years. And that's why I believe we urgently need a change of leadership at City Hall. And I think my past as a journalist, as a police officer, as an anti-poverty worker, as a small business owner, I think all of those experiences have uniquely prepared me to lead our city forward for the next 4 years. We face some challenges and exciting opportunities. We have the continuation of the State Route 99 project, taking down the viaduct, completing the tunnel, and then transforming our central waterfront into a wonderful open place for everyone to enjoy the front porch of Seattle. We face huge issues with public education and the education of the future generation that will lead our city. We have the 520 project and what's going to happen on our side of that bridge here in Seattle. And I could go on listing major, huge issues that are confronting us, and we need to have at City Hall a style of leadership that is listening, that is inclusive, that's bringing people together to develop solutions for the common good. And I think if you look at my track record on the City Council, that's what I've been able to do with my work there, whether it's how we care for the most vulnerable among us, our neighbors who need extra help and special care, or whether it's what we do for our most academically at-risk kids, like the ones we hear next door, whether it's prostituted children who have been coerced into a form of human trafficking that is horrific, and shift our view so that they're not criminal suspects but victims of oppression and coercion. Those are the things that I've been working on at the City Council, and I want to continue working on as we move forward. We share a set of common values in our city. We believe in diversity and what that brings to all of us. We believe in fair play and giving people equal opportunity. And we believe in caring about our environment and where we're going as a city in the future. And I would be honored to serve as your mayor in Seattle to help us accomplish the goals that we share and want to achieve in our city. So I was asked to address each of the issues on your issue sheet here. So I'll say a few things about each one of them, but then I'll be happy to answer specific questions as we move into that section as well. The first deals with transportation. In 2005, 2006, in that frame right in there, we had a transportation maintenance repair backlog of about $600 million. That has grown to just under $2 billion today. And there's a variety of reasons why that backlog continues to grow. One of them is that we in the Transportation Department have adopted a philosophy of worst first in terms of maintenance and repair. So those streets and roads that are in the worst condition get the attention. Let me give you an illustration of why that's probably bad public policy. City Light which is responsible for our streetlights, used to respond to streetlight outages on a complaint basis. So it's kind of like a worst first philosophy. Your streetlight burns out, you go online and report it, or you call in and report that, and City Light sends a crew out and they'll fix your streetlight. A couple of years ago, they switched away from that philosophy to an ongoing proactive maintenance approach. So they move around the city, and they've divided the city into quadrants, and they replace all the streetlights in that quadrant, whether they're burned out or not. And they do this on a 7-year cycle. They still respond, obviously, to burned out streetlight reports, but they've taken a proactive approach to streetlight maintenance. And we should do the same with our streets, roads, and bridges. Bellevue on the east side takes this approach, and if you were to go out today and drive the roads and streets of Bellevue, you would not see as many potholes and disrepair as we see in our city. That's one example of a progressive switch that we could make in SDOT to maintain our streets and roads better. Another issue that's very important is traffic light synchronization. Seattle resynchronizes our lights approximately every 3 years. The national model is it should be done annually. And if you synchronize your lights correctly, you can achieve anywhere from a 20 to 30% reduction in commute times. Let me move now to gentrification, which I also add the word displacement there. Gentrification itself is not necessarily bad. We can point to many neighborhoods in our city where we've seen improvement. And the issue for me and for many of my colleagues is what happens when we gentrify and displace people who would normally be in that area. One of the issues that is before the council right now is the South Lake Union rezone legislation. And I personally do not believe that that legislation adequately addresses the need for affordable housing in our city. And so we are working through some amendments right now to improve what we will receive in terms of affordable housing after that rezone is completed. We're granting to property owners huge increases in value, and we should be able to receive in return a public benefit in the form of affordable housing. There's some comments here in your sheet about Yesler Terrace and a decrease in the number of low-income units there. I actually think there's an increase. The council required a 1-to-1 replacement of all of the low-income housing that is there today, plus more. So we're going to have a significant increase in affordable housing in the Yesler Terrace project as we move forward. The next item is stabilizing the city budget. One of the things that I think we can all be proud of, and this is an area where I will give Mayor McGinn credit, he followed and adopted the same policies of Mayor Nichols in terms of financial management of the city, and consistent with council philosophy as well. We run the city fiscally quite conservatively, and as a result, we've been able to maintain our AAA bond ratings. And in that sense, the city is doing well. We have also been able to balance the need to fully fund our public safety obligations, emergency medical, fire, and police, while also maintaining our funding and, in fact, increasing our fundings for some of the most vulnerable in our city. Victims of domestic violence, the homeless, those who need emergency shelter and food. And so I think we're doing a fairly good job of balancing the needs of those who need special care and assistance, and also fulfilling our obligations to the public basic core services, as I mentioned, in public safety. Seattle growth, and talking about where we're going in the future. I mentioned very briefly about the South Lake Union rezone and the creation of affordable housing. The changes we're going to make there on affordable housing in South Lake Union, we are going to try to apply to the rest of the areas of the city where we offer incentive bonus for density in our urban villages and urban centers. You make reference to the Transit Communities proposal here. That is being worked on right now. We want to make certain that the definitions of what that means does not allow spillover into our single-family neighborhoods, which we want to protect. And that's why I've always supported what I refer to as concentrated density. It allows us to have growth in our urban centers, urban villages, and along our major transportation corridors while protecting our single-family residential neighborhoods. And then finally, neighborhoods versus downtown. This is always an interesting topic. You correctly note here that downtown is the economic engine of our city, region, in fact, the entire state of Washington. That's why we have a slogan at the council that we use in our Seattle for Washington program, where council members go throughout the state and meet with other elected officials. Seattle needs Washington, and Washington needs Seattle. And it's very important to recognize the exchange of values there between Seattle and the rest of our state. I think the issue you're getting at here is, do we put too much focus, too much emphasis, pay attention to downtown, perhaps too much compared to other neighborhoods? We could probably debate that subject for a long time. But I think, again, that it's important that downtown be successful and thrive, and we want the same thing for all of our neighborhoods throughout the city. One of the things I will do if I'm elected mayor of our good city is change how the Department of Neighborhoods works and shift our focus to a customer service delivery model as opposed to what I might refer to today as a listening model, which is very important. But I think the relationship between city government and people throughout our city and neighborhoods and neighborhood organizations like yours and others can be much more successful if we are coordinating and integrating the delivery of city services rather than what is a very siloed approach today in how we deliver city services between departments. I think I'll stop at that point and respond to any questions that you might have.